All right, I'm glad you're here. I think this is an important topic, and unfortunately, the reason I'm here and the reason we want to do this talk is that one day we can hopefully have a full room with this content, because this is at the end very, very important, and most people underestimate the importance of what it is that I'm about to talk about in this BOF. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Reza Rahman. Up there is my email address and Twitter handle. I'm happy to give you my business cards. I have a few of those as well. I'm essentially a Java EE evangelist at Oracle Corporation. Usually this talk is done by one of my colleagues in the JCP. The reason she wanted me to do this talk is because I actually have first-hand experience doing what it is that we're going to be talking about today. I used to, before I joined Oracle for almost 8 years, I was an independent. I worked in the JCP for 8 years as an independent. So I know this entire process inside and out. So maybe in some ways, I'm a better person to deliver this talk than she would be anyway. In any case, she's in JavaOne, Brazil. Okay. So we should start by defining exactly what the JCP is. The JCP is short for the Java Community Process, if you haven't heard of that before. Basically, the idea here is that this is the process, this is the mechanism whereby we define all Java standards, whether it's Java SE, the platform specification, Java EE, the platform specification, or any of the technologies that comprise Java SE and Java EE. It's not an open source project, and it's not a proprietary technology. In a proprietary technology, it's basically somebody behind the scenes creates the technology and says, oh, here's your new technology, here's the release. If you're lucky, maybe you get a beta version, that's it. You don't really have a say in determining how this technology comes about and how it looks like. Similarly, for open source, the picture is a little bit better. But the big difference between something like the JCP, which is an open standard, and an open source project is, although you're guaranteed access to the source, that is pretty much all that you are guaranteed. Even in that case, you're really not guaranteed full participation. You're not guaranteed a say. You're sort of at the mercy of the person running the open source project. The big difference here is that openness is a mandate. Okay, it's a requirement of the process. In fact, openness in every single step of the way. Literally, you have a say in determining the method signature names of every single method that goes into these standards. Okay, by definition, it's not by accident. It is a very, very open and participatory process. The biggest bit of FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt, that I still hear, and it really pains me when I hear it, is the JCP is just for vendors. That used to be true 10 years ago. It is true that the JCP started just with vendors, namely Sun, IBM, and later Oracle and some other companies. But honestly, in the past 8 years, eight some years ago, this has been very far from the truth. Even at any given point in time, there's at least 50 to 100 people, and I'm not kidding you, 50 to 100 people, individuals working in the JCP on these standards. And I can tell you, even from my own experience, even the people representing companies, there are exceptions, but majority of the people that are working in the JCP genuinely care about openness, genuinely care about participation, and genuinely care about the actual final outcome of these standards. Really, the big missing piece in the JCP today is participation from average developers, and this is something we really need to work on. And this needs to improve significantly, which is why I am here talking to you today, and hopefully some of you take some of what I tell you seriously and really think about it. So the next question we should explore is who exactly can participate? I've already hinted at this. Basically, the answer is anyone. Literally anyone, from the most expert PhD working on their application server or obscure JPA provider, down to the person that just got out of school. Okay, there's no entry barriers. Everybody has an important role to play. Really, the only thing that matters is will, okay, is a willingness and caring enough to participate in this process. What are the kind of things that you can do? We'll explore these questions in a moment, but I'll give you a sort of a hint. These are the kind of things you can do. Anyone can register with the JCP.org and Java.net. When you do that, you're basically recognized as an observer, somebody observing the JCP process. What can you do there? Well, you can observe all of what is going on in the JCP end to end, starting from expert group discussions to reviewing specifications to providing feedback. Okay, all of that is available to you. Okay, and it is a lot. It is actually, for the most part, what I expect a vast majority of developers to do. And if we could even get them to do this, we would go a long way. And quite honestly, not enough people are doing even this. All right. The next level of participation is what is called a JCP member. Well, what is the difference between an observer and a JCP member? The difference is just one piece of paper. Okay, and what is that piece of paper? It's a piece of paper called the JSPA. Okay, it's the contributor agreement for the JCP. Well, what is that piece of paper say? It says a lot of things, but at the end of the day, the most important thing it says is that when you participate in the JCP as a JCP member, okay, as opposed to an observer, anything that you contribute is counted as IP ownership of the JCP. What does this mean? Why does this exist? The reason this exists is because you're dealing with an open standard. Okay, so when you're dealing with an open standard, anyone that licenses that open standard has to be free to implement that technology without paying any royalties, without being afraid of IP issues. And what the JSPA does is that it provides that protection. So it basically says when you contribute anything as a JCP member, you cannot go back and say, oh, you know, by the way, this thing that I had contributed, well, I'm claiming IP on that. I want to file a patent on it. That is the only thing. And in fact, this is not uncommon. Okay, even if you join Apache, any kind of open source organization that cares about IP, you will need to sign such a thing, such an agreement. The only exception today is GitHub, and frankly, that is very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. You never know when, you know, somebody is going to fall into a big IP trap. Okay, frankly, this is not the smartest way to go, and that's why you have the JSPA, and that's why you have the distinction between somebody who is an observer, meaning not expected to provide substantial input, versus somebody who is a JCP member. So the question is, what can a JCP member do? And the answer is everything. Everything. Okay. So some of the things a JCP member can do is join an expert group. Create a JSR, and we'll see what a JSR is in a second. It's the primary mechanism by which you move the JCP forward, and the like. You can basically do absolutely anything, but that is the basic fundamental reason, fundamental thing that you can do. Okay. The basic vehicle by which anything is done in the JCP is something called an expert group. And when I say expert group, it scares people. It says, oh, you know, I must be like some super smart PhD person to do this. You know, we played around with this, and really there's no better name for this. The only other name that you could say is working group, all right? And that's no scarier and no crazier sounding than expert group member. In reality, an expert group member is really nothing much more than a group of people interested in a JSR, interested in actively working and actively contributing to a JSR. I've been an expert group for how many expert? I have been in 7 different expert groups. Okay, in my tenure in the JCP and as an individual. Believe me, it is probably the most collaborative and the most open thing I have worked on ever in my life. Okay, so remember, I've been developing Java for about 20 years. I've been in all kinds of environments, startups, large corporations, you name it, as a consultant and as an employee. Common criticism that you'll see that people have an agenda against the JCP is they'll say something like, "Oh, the JCP is very political. Oh, the JCP is just a mess. And nobody can get into agreement, and nobody likes each other," and they imply these things. The reality is very, very different, and I have no reason to lie to you about this. In my experience, I've been, almost every single corporate environment that I have ever worked on where there is a collaboration experience, that experience was far worse than anything that I have worked on in the JCP, even in startups. For those of you who have worked in startups, guess what? Startups are usually kingdoms. Okay, usually there's one or two guys controlling everything, and you either agree with them or you don't. They kind of have to listen to you, or they don't. The JCP is not like that at all. Really, we have so few people contributing to the JCP standards these days. Any single individual that joins and voices their opinion, that opinion is treated like gold. And I'm really not joking with you when I say that. However, there is some basic reasonable entry requirements to join a JCP expert group. Namely, there's two things that you really need to prove. One is that you have a reasonable amount of thing to offer. Okay. Otherwise, you're requested just to be an observer, because at the end of the day, we can't have hundreds of people being expert groups. It becomes silly. And also the willingness. Okay, every single responsible specification lead will ask you, okay, are you serious about this? How many hours can you really contribute? From my own experience, the bare minimum requirement in order to be an effective expert is about 10 hours a week. Okay, let's think about that for a second. It sounds scary, but it's really not. Okay, you have 7 days a week. Okay, that's a little over an hour a day. Not a very big deal. Okay, for something that you care about, and something where your name is going to be on that specification from here on until the end. And hopefully you're working on something that affects 9 million people around the globe. There's very few things any of us in this room probably do that has the potential of impacting 9 million developers, 9 million people, and more, and all other people using the technology. So very, very, I think, small requirement to ask for. By and large, these expert groups are online. Okay, their most common form of communication is through email. You join a user alias, and that is the expert group alias. By and large, that's where the communication occurs. In fact, because of the JCP rules, you have to have everything transparent. You can't have a backroom meeting that nobody knows about. If and when you have such a meeting, you actually have to post the exact what happened in that meeting and who said what, the meeting minutes, on the JCP alias in an open fashion. Okay, so that's the people who make this thing happen, an expert group. This is what they produce. What they produce is a specification, commonly known as a JSR, a Java Specification Request. What is this? This is basically a unit of work, a body of work, either to create a new API or to make a change to an existing API, Java standard API, included in either Java SE or Java EE. A JSR can be created by one or more people, and anyone can create it. Anyone that is a JCP member is capable of creating a specification. However, specifications are, again, there are some checks and balances. Okay, when you file a JSR, it will go through a review of a body of people called an EC or executive committee. I'll talk about that in a second. The kind of questions that you will be asked there when you try to launch a JSR is, okay, why is this necessary? What is the compelling need? And also, what are your commitments? Okay, what are the resources that you have? What is the guarantee that you're actually filing a JSR and you're going to be working on it? Okay, amongst other things. The principal artifact that a specification produces is really nothing more than a PDF file describing the technology. Okay, that is the ultimate most important artifact that is generated. Okay, it is not a Java doc. It's not anything like that. It's really just a PDF document. Go hand in hand with that are two other very important things. One is what is called a reference implementation. And what is this? This is basically a real implementation of that PDF document to say, okay, the things that are in this PDF document are provable, are implementable, can be produced as working software. Okay, that's what a reference implementation is. All people, everyone that is interested in implementing this technology has free access to the reference implementation. The reference implementation is usually open source because you want to look at how this technology was implemented. Okay, and the best way to do that is through open source, and it also facilitates open collaboration during the implementation phase. So an expert group, for example, can help produce the reference implementation. Okay, they can help produce the specification document. Ultimately, the spec lead is responsible for doing that, but pretty much anyone can contribute to the reference implementation or any of this. In fact, if you sign a separate agreement, you don't even have to be an expert or a JCP member. You can just be an observer and still be still contribute to a reference implementation. What you sign in that case is the OCA, which is the Oracle agreement. Okay, basically the same thing as a JSPA. There's literally not that much of a difference. The other thing that is produced out of a specification is what is called a TCK, a compatibility test kit. What is this? It's essentially a set of unit tests, okay, that verify that a particular implementation passes the standard. Okay, that is the ultimate litmus test for any compatible implementation. So you can't arbitrarily just claim compatibility. You can't just say, oh, I have implemented, I'm compatible with this implementation. No, they can't do that. You have to run the TCK and verify that you have done that properly. Okay. This is a diagram basically describing the relationship between these things. I won't go into too much detail of it, but basically, as you can imagine, these things are interrelated. Okay, so the specification is proved, okay, by the reference implementation, as I described. The specification is clarified and testable through the TCK, and vice versa. The TCK, the reference implementation itself, must also pass the TCK, and the reference and the TCK must make sense from the sense of the reference implementation. So these things all need to be coherent. They need to agree with each other in order to make a real specification, okay, real JCP specification. Now there is another body of a group of people that are very important, and honestly, perhaps these guys are just as important as the expert groups. Me personally, I've never really had any ambitions to be part of the executive committee. I was more interested in the technical aspects of developing the JCP standards themselves. However, I don't discount the importance of the people that work in the executive committee. Well, let's talk about what exactly the executive committee is. The executive committee actually is the expert group. Think of it as the expert group for the entire JCP. Okay, so these are the guys that determine what is the JCP, what is the process by which Java standards are created. That is one of their biggest roles. The other role they have is things like approving JSRs, making sure that a JSR is actually sensible. Also reviewing JSRs through their various lifecycle phases. That's another role of the executive committee members. Without executive committee member approval, no specification can go from one stage of its lifecycle to other, and certainly they cannot be final. Okay, so this is basically the ultimate check and balance. These guys are responsible for essentially overall making sure that everything is okay with the JCP process. Majority of these guys are actually by vote, okay, by vote or by election. And right now there's actually several Java user groups that are executive committee members. Some examples of that is the London Java user group, as well as the Brazil Java user group. Okay. However, an executive committee member, same thing as everything else, can be an individual or can be a company or can be a Java user group. All right. And by the way, you get to vote for who are going to be these people. Okay, as a JCP member, that's one of the important things that you will do. So I've tried to put together this graph, kind of to tie together all of these things that I just talked about, just as a rehash. So at the bottommost is the Java community. Again, these 9 million developers, everybody in the world that has anything to do with Java. Some of these people we hope are going to be members. Right now, these members are just a little above 1,500. Okay, very poor ratio. Think about this. So if you think about Java as a country, okay, and it has 9 million citizens, okay, that are affected by things that happen, okay, in Java, and yet only 1,500 of those bother to do anything about it, even put in cast a vote, okay, and as to what should be done with these standards. Very, very poor. In my opinion, really, I would like to see pretty much every JUG leader, certainly, every single open source contributor that works on a Java project, as well as at least the chief architects of every single organization, every single company in the world, at least to be a member. Okay, that would make it representative government as opposed to what it is today. In fact, even the observers are just very small numbers. Okay, let me hook in my power source so that this stops doing this. Moving forward, okay, so that is and even the number of observers today is just about little over 10,000. Okay, again, very small number. And imagine even in that ratio of observer to member, we have very high drop-off rates, right? And this needs to change, and I'm not sure what to do about it. You know, I've been doing this particular talk for about 5 years now. And every time I try to do this, you know, there's one, not a whole lot of people attend. Two, I'm not really sure, you know, these dynamics don't change. But this has to change if we move Java forward. At the end of the day, Java is very unique in this aspect, right? It's a shame that more people don't appreciate this aspect of being a Java developer. Okay, so beyond that, you have basically a specification lead. So any member can become a specification lead, and a specification lead then elects, okay, certain members to become experts. Okay, and of course, at the top of all of that is the EC members who have the responsibility of oversight of everything that goes on in the JCP, including the rules of the JCP itself. Okay. All right. This is the process. Every single JSR goes through a well-defined process. Okay, it's not just free for all. Here's a JSR. I do whatever it is that I want. That's not the case. Every single JSR has certain phases that it must pass through. I won't go through all of them. There is really no need for it. But it's basically a predictable cycle. You have several phases of completeness, several draft stages of a specification. The reason for these stages is really the review. Okay, both an internal review by experts, public review, as well as EC review. So really 3 groups of distinct people reviewing these specifications at various stages of its life cycle. The reason for this, one is openness, two is correctness. Okay, so you don't want a specification that's been running for 2 years and suddenly, okay, here's the draft and you have 6 months until completion. That's not what happens. Okay, by and large, every 3 to 6 months, you have some kind of stopping process to say, okay, this is what the current status of this JSR is, and everybody has a say. Okay, there's a period of time where literally it's the EG is just sitting there waiting for public commentary from observers, commentary from members, and again, it's a shame. It's dismally low, right? Often it's just you get 1 or 2 comments here and there, and that's it, right? And this also really needs to change. All right. Another body that is important in the JCP is something called the PMO, or Program Management Office. Again, this talk is usually done by somebody in the Program Management Office. Well, what do these people do? Their job is to make the JCP functional. Okay, so you can think about this as sort of like a administrative assistant. Okay, so they do things like make sure that the website is up and running, all of the infrastructure that you need to run a JSR. So the user aliases. Usually, there's a Java.NET project that has a Jira on it. Okay, the code repositories where a reference implementation and TCK is hosted. All of these things are functioning, up and running. This is their job. They're also a facilitator. Okay, so they facilitate things like the executive committee meetings, and the executive committee has quarterly meetings, okay, to discuss various things. And they also do advocacy and outreach, just like I'm trying to do here today. That also is a part of their function, is getting Java developers engaged and explaining to them what it is exactly that the JCP does. Okay, so I've already told you that it's long been possible to contribute to the JCP either as an individual or as a company. To move this even a step forward, what we did about 3 years ago, actually we didn't do it, I'll talk to you in a second why that is. About 3 years ago, one of the programs, very interesting programs that was launched is something called Adopt-a-JSR. And in fact, this is not anything that anybody in the JCP did. This was actually an initiative by those 2 jugs that I mentioned, London Java user community and Brazilian Java community. What is this about? This is about lowering the barrier to participation in the JCP as low as you can get. So how does it work? The way it works is that basically a Java user group, okay, can enter on behalf of all of its members as an expert group member. Okay, and when they do that, basically you then as a Java developer don't have to individually sign up as an expert. So you can work together and you can discuss Java JSR together and then provide your input as a group. Okay, so really, I mean, it can't get any easier. I don't know what else you would do to encourage people to get involved. Anyone here a jug leader? No? Okay. All right. This is by far one of the most important things you can do, okay, as a Java user group is, you are a Java user group, right? So the most important thing you can do is contribute to Java, okay? And the way to do that is Adopt-a-JSR. I really would like to see every single jug in the world, every single serious jug in the world, at least consider Adopt-a-JSR. So Adopt-a-JSR has its own little website. The URL for it is pretty straightforward. It's adopt-a-JSR.java.net, and that's a long version of it. So if you want to learn more about Adopt-a-JSR and how that works, okay, feel free to take a look there. It has been reasonably successful. Okay, so we launched this in the Java EE 7 timeframe. At that point in time, we had 18 different jugs contribute to Java EE 7 in various ways. Okay, so when we launched that in Java 7, really it was a tail end of Java 7. So by that time, most of the final draft specifications were almost done, and people gave feedback on that. And mostly what they actually did was evaluate the spec. Okay, write interesting applications, to see how this specification worked and provide any late feedback. And mostly just really help us evangelize the technology. That is probably the most important thing that was done in AdoptaJSR for Java 7 because of the time frame. All right. And believe it or not, some of that work is actually in the Java E7 SDK. So the people, the things that some of these guys contributed went into the actual reference implementation, namely GlassFish. All right. So right now, what can you do with AdoptaJSR? I'll be honest, AdoptaJSR has been more effective for us in EE land than it has been for Java SE. Java SE is sort of different. They work in, principally they work more like a open source project than an open standard, to be very honest. They have the mechanisms, okay, for all of the mechanisms that I just described, but by and large, by the time anything enters a JSR phase, a lot of the decisions are already made in OpenJDK. All right, and that is absolutely really not the case with Java EE. Java EE really is an open standard. Really, we start with almost a blank slate. Okay, when we launch anything in Java EE. So quite naturally, honestly, there's not going to be much you're going to be able to do with AdoptaJSR and JDK9. If you want to contribute to JDK9, your best pathway is another program called Adopt OpenJDK. Okay, it's similar to AdoptaJSR, but you can, in theory, use AdoptaJSR for Java SE specifications as well. For Java E8, we've actually made specific efforts to appeal to the AdoptaJSR user. Okay, so there's actually a website we set up. It's called GlassFish. The URL for it is glassfish.org/AdoptaJSR. And all this page is your first stop. Okay, if you want to contribute to Java E8 JSRs, okay, through AdoptaJSR, that's where you need to start. Okay, it'll tell you all of the things that you can do, how you go about doing it, and the like. With Java E8, actually, one of the characteristics we are aiming for in Java E8 is this. Okay, we want to really do something that has really never been done before. We want to make sure we achieve the highest level of community input for Java E8, and we did a decent job with Java E7. We're being very proactive in doing everything that we can now to get as much input through AdoptaJSR and any other program for Java E8 specifications. These are some of the things you can do. Okay, for Java E8 JSRs, you can share your ideas. Share your feedback. Every single Java E spec has a Jira issue. You can enter items on the Jira issues. You can provide your feedback, vote on Jira issues, and you can start all of that through that page at glassfish.org AdoptaJSR. You can follow expert group discussions. Okay, you can chime in. You can give your opinion. You can read early versions of specifications in Java docs, and those in fact do exist. Okay, for at least a few of the Java EJSRs that we have, and there'll be more. Okay, by JavaOne next year, certainly. There'll be much more Java docs, much more early versions of drafts, and certainly implementations that you can play with. And of course, you can write and speak about the technology. This honestly is probably the most important thing you can do. Okay, is raise awareness of Java EE specifications, Java EE JSRs, by either blogging about it, or speaking at a conference, or speaking at your company, or speaking at your Java user group, or speaking at a random group of people. In fact, there is a resource I will share with you in how you can do that, the folks in this room. And the other big important thing you can do is encourage others to participate. Talk about what it is that we're discussing today. Share with them this information and tell them, hey, this is something maybe we ought to try doing. Okay, so what is in Java 8? If you didn't attend my My talk, I guess yesterday, one of the first talks of the conference, I will tell you how you can get to this. Okay, this is at a high level what is in Java 8. I don't want to turn this into a Java 8 session, but I will tell you, for those of you who haven't been in the session, how you can learn more about Java 8, other than, of course, the GlassFish page. And this is how you do it. Okay, note this URL. It's slideshare.net. I hope most of you are familiar with what SlideShare is. It's the largest slide sharing website in the world. My account name is Reza_Rahman, which is my last name and first name separated by underscore. And the presentation you want to get at is Java EE8. Okay, literally, those are the words. Over here you can certainly see the slide deck, but that's really not what I'm getting at all. If you go to the download link, okay, there's a little download link, this guy over here. You can actually download the PowerPoint version, okay, of this slide deck. And why is that important? That is important because I have speaker notes, okay, for every single slide that goes through basically at a high level what I would go through in my presentation. I hope it is enough, certainly to get you started. Okay, so my goal is, the reason I put those speaker notes is to help you, okay, help us by doing this presentation, okay, at your user group or at any particular group, and help us evangelize some of these technologies, okay, and I will absolutely help you do that, right? If you need any help, you can reach out to me to say, okay, I want to do this, what do I do about it, or anything else that is related to Adopt-a-JSR or Java EE or any of the JSRs. I'm here for you. Okay, that is one of the reasons for doing this, for even being here today. All right, moving forward. I just want to wrap this up and open this up to any discussion. I think we're doing fairly good on time. Basically, take this very seriously. There's a reason why we're doing this. We are genuine about having you participate and having you be a part of these standards. That is, at the end of the day, the only way we can really make a difference and really make a technology that we are all proud of and make Java survive. Okay, make Java survive for the next 5, 10, 20 years. It won't happen without you. In where we are today is not good enough. It's by far not good enough. We need to do much better, and whatever it is that we need to do to engage you, we need to be doing that. Okay, and vice versa. I hope you too will think about why these things are important and try to do some of this. I will point out this one quote. Okay, there's several quotes in this slide deck that I didn't go through. This one I will. This is very relevant, okay, to Java and the JCP. So many of us, succeed with Java. We really owe so much to this technology, and really very few of us really give anything back. Okay, but people are waiting for you to give something back. All right, so really the only thing that's necessary is will on your part. All right, that is all that really matters. So here are some resources for you. I haven't uploaded this slide deck to my SlideShare yet. I hope to do that in the next few days. But hopefully the key URLs here are relatively easy to remember. They are really glassfish.org/AdoptaJSR. Okay, if you go there, it'll take you through the rest of the things that you need to know about AdoptaJSR. And the other one is JCP.org. Okay, once you go there, you'll see the rest of it. All right, the rest of it will just fall into place. And there's a whole bunch of other things. If you're a Twitter follower, the JCP has a Twitter handle. AdoptaJSR has a Twitter handle. So there's many different channels: Facebook, IRC, what have you. Okay, so there's many different channels by which you can start to engage and start to get involved in this process. All right, that is all that I have. I'm happy to discuss anything else that you guys want to discuss, or I know it's also late in the day. If you want to just relax and maybe have a beer, I'm also okay with that. So whatever you guys want to do. Any questions? Anything that you want me to clarify? Okay, all right. Very good. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you again for coming.